In the village of Baad, approximately 13 miles from Agra in northern India, a remarkable story would play out in the mid-1980s that would challenge conventional understanding of life and death. Titu Singh, known to everyone as Titu, was born into a modest family as the youngest of 6 children. His exact birth date remains somewhat unclear. Military hospital records suggest December 11th, 1982, while his father claimed it was December 10th, 1983. This uncertainty would later prove significant in understanding the extraordinary nature of his case. Titu's mother experienced severe illness during the last trimester of her pregnancy, requiring hospitalisation under the name of a family friend whose military status allowed her admittance to the medical facility. The child who emerged from this difficult pregnancy would soon demonstrate that he carried within him memories of another life entirely. At 18 months old, shortly after beginning to speak, Titu made his first startling statement. "Tell my grandfather to look after my children and my wife. I'm having my meals here and I am worried about them." When his bewildered mother questioned him, the toddler explained that he was from Agra but didn't know how he had come to Baad. As Titu grew, his complaints about his family's modest lifestyle became increasingly specific and troubling. He expressed embarrassment about his mother's old clothes, saying, "My wife had beautiful saris." He criticised their home as dirty, insisting that his house was big and that his sisters-in-law were educated. When the family travelled on foot or by bus, he would protest, "I used to go by car." During a wedding in Agra, he announced, "I have a shop in the Sadar Bazaar." The child's distress intensified as he aged. He cried almost daily, demanding to go home to see his brother Raja Babu and his sister Sushila. He referred to his parents as Gulu's parents, Gulu being his sister. His behaviour puzzled his family. While he appeared to be an ordinary child in many ways, he would sometimes say and do things that only adults would do. He spoke and acted as if he wasn't truly part of their family, frequently telling them he wouldn't be there long and would leave one day. Once his homesickness became so overwhelming that he rolled his clothes into a bundle and threatened to run away. In April 1987, when Titu was around 4.5 years old, a breakthrough occurred. Distressed that his father had gone to Agra without him, Titu confided to a friend of his eldest brother, "Can you take me there? I have a shop of transistor radios, and I was a big smuggler and gunda. I am the owner of Suresh Radio." Acting on this specific information, Titu's brother and his friend travelled to Agra and searched for a shop by that name in Sadar Bazaar. They found it. Suresh Radio did exist. When they approached the shop, they met Uma Verma, a widow who ran the business. Upon hearing their extraordinary story about young Titu's claims, Uma revealed that her husband, Suresh Verma, had indeed been the shop's owner. He was also known as a black market smuggler who had been shot dead at approximately 30 years of age on August 28, 1983. The two families had never met before this moment. After discussing this shocking information with her parents-in-law, Uma and several members of Suresh's family decided to visit Baad the next morning. As they approached the Singh home unannounced, Titu was outside washing at the tap. He spotted them first and became extremely excited, shouting to his parents that his other family had arrived. Without any introduction, he recognised Uma, Suresh's parents, and 2 of the 3 brothers who were present. The Singh family seated their unexpected visitors on the veranda. In a manner unusual for a young child in India, Titu asked Uma to come sit near him. He asked if she recognised him, and when she said no, he began recounting specific details of their past life together. He inquired about the children, Ronu and Sonu, and then stunned Uma by describing a family outing to a fair in a neighbouring city where Suresh had bought sweets for her, information that only she could have known. Uma was too shocked to speak. Titu accurately described Suresh's home and unique details about it, recalled that the car had been white, and began to describe how Suresh had died. He revealed that he had witnessed his own funeral, knew he had been cremated, and that his ashes had been thrown in the river. He also mentioned that in his past life he had hidden gold in a hole at the house in Sahaganj. The Verma family arranged for Titu to visit Agra, but they wanted to test his claims further. They arranged for Suresh's 2 children to be playing in the street among a group of other neighbourhood children. Titu immediately singled them out from their playmates. In another test, they told him they were taking him to see the radio and TV shop, but actually led him to a similar shop owned by Suresh's brother. Titu was not deceived. One of the visits to Suresh Radio was recorded by a documentary crew. In the footage, Titu initially appears very shy, burying his face in his father's jacket, obviously uncomfortable being in the shop with his past life children and wife. Eventually, he sits on a stool at the counter, and when Uma asks him whose picture hangs behind the shop counter, he points to it and says, "Mine," staring at it intently. When asked the name of the man in the photo, he mumbles, "Suresh," his gaze locked on the image. Asked when it was taken, he replies, "Before I died." During this visit, Titu pointed out all the changes that had been made in the shop since Suresh's death, identifying shelving units that had been added, though he noted the ceiling still looked the same. He correctly identified which drawer had been used to keep cash and recognised the shop manager. A showcase that had been installed after Suresh's death confused him. The interaction between Uma and Titu gradually became more relaxed, revealing a fascinating dynamic. When Uma asked if she should dig for the gold he had mentioned hiding, Titu replied, "You'll be wasting your time." She persisted, "Well, tell me where to dig then." He responded, "I'll dig for it myself. I'll give you half, but keep half for myself." Their banter included moments of laughter and unmistakable warmth. When Uma asked, "Do you want to come home with me?" and later, "Shall I come to your village?" Titu replied honestly, "You won't like it there." The murder of Suresh Verma haunted both Uma and Titu. According to Titu's recollection, he was coming home from work when a man came running from the street corner and shot Suresh while he was sitting in his car. Uma corroborated this account, relating that she was inside the house and heard a noise. Thinking Suresh's car had backfired, she went outside. When Suresh didn't exit the car, she opened the door and his body fell on her. She screamed. The autopsy report confirmed that Suresh had been shot in the right temple while sitting in the driver's seat of his car. Most remarkably, Titu bore physical marks corresponding to Suresh's wounds. He had a small white round birthmark on his right temple in the exact position of the bullet's entry wound. There were also a series of small birthmarks on the back of his head that might correspond to exit wounds. Behind Titu's right ear, where the autopsy listed Suresh's exit wound, researcher Antonia Mills found that Titu's skull was somewhat pushed out, a deformity his parents had noticed but hadn't connected to the past life injury. Additionally, Titu had a birthmark on his crown that matched one Suresh had carried throughout his life. Titu's personality closely mirrored that of Suresh. Both were described as active, intrepid, and hot-tempered. Suresh had twice successfully defended himself from hitmen before they finally succeeded in killing him. Mills observed Titu beating another child with a sugarcane in anger. When Mills showed interest in a bangle, Titu threatened to shoot or kick the seller if he charged her for it. At Suresh Radio, Titu acted as if he still owned the shop, smacking a stool hard upon entering and leaving, a habit Suresh had possessed. According to Suresh's father, Titu could operate a car's tape deck despite never having seen one before, and could drive a car a short distance, working the steering wheel, gas pedal, brake and clutch under supervision from Suresh's brother. The case attracted significant attention. BBC's 40 Minutes featured it in 1990, and it appeared in Reincarnation International magazine. Indian media covered it extensively, with at least 3 magazines reporting on it. An Indian film production company even considered making it into a movie. The case was examined by Professor N.K. Chadha of Delhi University and later by Antonia Mills at the request of renowned reincarnation researcher Ian Stevenson, as he wanted to see if other investigators would reach similar conclusions using his methodology. The timing of Suresh's death, August 28, 1983, in relation to Titu's disputed birth date, raises profound questions. If Titu was born in December 1982, it suggests that Suresh's consciousness somehow entered an already living 8-month-old child. If the 1983 birth date is correct, the transfer would have occurred during the 3rd trimester of pregnancy, possibly explaining Titu's mother's severe illness during that period. Mills noted that the presence of birthmarks from birth made the earlier date unlikely, as they couldn't have manifested after Suresh's death unless through some complex foreknowledge. The emotional toll on both families was considerable. Titu's parents lived with the constant fear that their son would leave them. His father expressed concern. "I fear that as Titu gets older, he may break all ties with us. We love him very much, but despite being educated, we're unable to understand his story." Titu's mother found some comfort in his childish assurances that although he had parents elsewhere, his current parents were his real parents. Still, the pain was evident when Titu complained about their modest lifestyle and compared it unfavourably to his previous life. At Suresh's parents' home, Titu had declared, "I'm just passing through with these people who do not have a TV, a car, a video. I will run away to you." When it came time to leave, he fought so violently to stay that he tore his father's shirt and had to be appeased with promises of future visits. Suresh's father acknowledged the delicate situation. "Titu clings to us with affection and we talk like father and son, but I don't encourage it too much because it upsets his real parents." Uma's response was perhaps the most poignant. She stated clearly, "I know it is Suresh, but I realise that no purpose can be served. We can't have that same relationship again." The case even reached the Agra court, where Titu provided additional details about the murder that convinced authorities he was the reincarnation of the murder victim. Professor Chadha noted that because of the police involvement, it was one of the best documented cases of apparent reincarnation he had ever seen. In total, Titu made 15 verified statements before meeting Suresh's family and 31 subsequently, with only 1 proving incorrect. He correctly identified 10 people and 4 places related to Suresh's life. The convergence of memories, behaviours, recognitions and physical marks created a compelling case that challenged natural explanations. As Titu grew older, the memories that had once consumed him began to fade. Unlike Suresh, who had lived as a smuggler and died violently, Titu chose a path of personal growth and healing. He earned a master's degree in yoga and naturopathy, and since 2012 has worked as an assistant professor at Banaras Hindu University in Varanasi, Uttar Pradesh, teaching naturopathy and yoga therapy. Reflecting on his experience as an adult, Titu offered profound insight into living with past life memories. As soon as I got angry, all memories of my past life surfaced. I was worried a lot. Now that I've grown up and become a family man, I've learned to deal with it. But day by day, I forget these past memories and all that. But I want to get away from it completely because it's impossible to live a double life. The past is the past. We must live in the present. This extraordinary case, with its wealth of verified details, physical evidence, and emotional complexity, stands as one of the most thoroughly documented examples of apparent reincarnation ever recorded. It raises fundamental questions about the nature of consciousness, the continuity of identity, and what truly happens to the human soul after death.